Yours to melt by Rimuru-Chi == Velgryn's POV == They call me the Scorching Dragon, the Crimson Calamity, Flame Incarnate. But names are nothing. They do not define me. I am Velgrynd, the second of the true dragons. Born from Veldanava's divine breath and fire, I am the embodiment of relentless motion, the smoldering passion of a sun that never fades. The world bends to flame, and flame bends to me. My pride is not arrogance, it is simply truth. The truth of who I am. I stood atop one of the higher peaks of the mountains of the star, the chilling wind lashing against my skin, but I didn't feel cold. I never do. The wind only fed the embers within, and the embers roared today. It had been an uncountable number of years. Mortals would have turned to dust and legends thrice over. And still, here I remained, as radiant and indomitable as ever. But there's one thing about eternity they never warn you about. The weight of it. The monotony. The constant need to prove you're still the strongest flame in the sky. And for me, that meant facing her. Again. Velzard. My sister. The white ice dragon. My opposite in every conceivable way. Cold to my heat, serenity to my fire, restraint to my passion. She infuriates me without even trying. Not because she belittles me, she never does, but because I cannot surpass her. Every time I reach out to claim my place above her, she reminds me why she is the eldest after Veldanava. I clenched my gloved hands at my sides, white silk straining against my knuckles. Just a few minutes ago, I challenged Velzard again. I poured all my fury, all my heat, all my pride into one blazing attack. And she froze in midair with a glance. A single, damn glance. Humiliation scorched deeper than any flame, so I left. I told myself I needed air. The truth? I needed to scream, to fly, to burn the sky until the rage melted into silence. I soared high above the peaks of the mountain of star, dark blue hair trailing like twin comets behind me, ribbons fluttering violently in the gale. My cheongsam clung to me like a second skin, the golden dragon embroidery shimmering under the sunlight. Every detail, my slits, the trim, even the gloves, screamed elegance. Because even when I'm furious, I am magnificent. Beneath me, the terrain shifted. Mountains gave way to misty valleys, then to rolling hills, and eventually to something else entirely. I didn't realize how far I'd flown until I saw it. A lake. Not just water. No, this was a mirror of the heavens. It nestled in the curve of a lush, emerald basin, ringed with silver-white flowers that shimmered like stars. The water itself was impossibly clear, reflecting the sky in crystal hues. A family of deer drank cautiously at the edge, unbothered by my presence. Birds circled lazily above. I landed softly on the grass, the earth warm beneath my boots. "It's beautiful," I murmured. And I meant it. There was a peace here that I rarely found in the mountain of star. Despite its majesty, the mountain was always filled with tension, siblings always watching, always testing, always competing. Here, though, no expectations. No eyes on me. No sister to outshine. Just me. And the flame. I exhaled, and the tips of the nearby flowers curled ever so slightly from the warmth. My magic was always active, always moving, even in peace. I crouched by the water's edge and dipped my gloved fingers in. Warm. Not scalding like the lava rivers, but not cold either. Just pleasant. My thoughts wandered to him. Veldanava. My eldest brother. The creator of all. The Star King Dragon. The first will of this world. He had always been distant, not out of cruelty, but because he existed on a plane few could reach, and yet, recently, he'd done something that shattered the silence of eternity. He met a demon. Not just any demon, a primordial one. A red one, at that, guy. I scowled at the name. He challenged Veldanava. Challenged him. Had the audacity to stand before the origin of creation itself and draw his blade. And Veldanava, he let him. They fought, and then, became friends. I clenched my jaw. Why? Why him? Why that creature from the abyss? A demon born of nothing but malice and chaos. What did he have that I didn't? What strength did he show that was enough to earn Veldanava's respect? I had never been permitted to challenge Veldanava. I had never even considered it. But that demon, he was made Demon Lord. The first Demon Lord. The mediator. All because he dared to test himself against the stars. It was unfair. No, infuriating. I was still stewing when I heard it. A voice. Calm. Smooth. Deep, but gentle. It carried no hint of threat, only a curious tranquility that caught me off guard. What is a young, breathtakingly beautiful lady doing in a place like this? It's dangerous, you know. I stiffened immediately, fire flaring up instinctively in my veins. I stood, slowly, turning toward the source of the voice. Who dared approach a true dragon like that? The scene faded to a flicker of rising wind and rustling trees, the question still echoing in the stillness. I turned, and through the scattered trees and long shadows, I saw him. Half shrouded in the dappled light of the forest canopy, standing in silence as though he had always been there. Not hiding. Just existing quietly between the threads of the world. The first thing I saw were his eyes. Golden, brighter than my flames, their glow unsettlingly tranquil. And then the hair. Long. Flowing like water frozen mid-motion. It shimmered pale blue, falling past his hips, fluttering as if the wind moved for him. Lighter than my own dark blue strands. His face was mostly obscured in shadow, only his mouth, a sharp jawline, and the smooth column of his neck visible. But those eyes, steady and glowing, made it impossible to look away. He wore a long, loose black shirt with sleeves that rippled like silk, paired with wide black pants cinched at the waist by a single crimson belt. In one hand, he held a book. Just a book. No weapons. No armor. Just a man. No, a being. Who stood in a space where time seemed to pause. I raised my chin, narrowing my golden eyes. I am more than capable of defending myself, I said, letting the heat of my voice crackle in the air. After all, I am Velgrynd. The scorching dragon. One of the true dragons. One of the strongest beings in existence. He tilted his head slightly, then gave a nod so slow and fluid it seemed to ripple through space itself. I see. Even so, you are a woman. Try to be careful. He looked toward the trees again. This world hides dangerous individuals. Some walk the earth unseen. Others wear kindness like a mask. I felt a flare of pride ignite in my chest. I don't fear danger. I am danger. I could burn this world to cinders if I so wished. My voice rang out with absolute certainty, no hint of boasting. Just truth. I didn't need validation. I was power incarnate. He laughed softly. Not mocking, not amused. Just, gentle. Absolutely right, young lady, he said with a nod, then closed his book and tucked it under his arm. So, what is your name? I hesitated. Not because I was afraid, but because I never expected to be asked. Velgrynd, I said with regal clarity, placing a gloved hand on my chest. Second of the true dragons. Scorched dragon. He looked at me. Really looked, those golden eyes shining with a quiet knowing. I see, he said at last, and then turned. Be safe, Lady Velgrynd. And he began to walk away. My pride screamed to let him go. He hadn't bowed. He hadn't groveled. He hadn't even acknowledged my full title with the awe it deserved. But something else, something strange and warm and alive in my chest, made me act before I could stop myself. Wait, I called, and cursed myself for how quickly the word escaped. He paused. Didn't turn around. What's your name? I asked. The words caught in my throat, but I forced them out. For a long moment, he stood in silence. Then, slowly, he looked over his shoulder. You can call me Ashura, he said. I have no family. No ties. No origin worth mentioning. Just an unnecessary existence. Then he vanished into the trees. I followed. I'm not sure why. Something about him. It wasn't just mystery. It wasn't just power. It was familiarity. But as I pushed through the underbrush, melting branches with every flare of impatience, I found nothing. Only a maze of green, silver, and blue. The lake was gone. Or maybe I'd simply wandered too far. Unnecessary existence. I whispered aloud. The phrase clung to my thoughts like ash on the wind. I flew. High into the sky, heading home with flames trailing behind me in a ribbon of crimson and gold. I needed answers. The mountain of the star greeted me with its usual brilliance, silver peaks brushing the firmament, veils of cosmic light dancing like silk ribbons. The grand citadel carved into the starlit stone glistened like a temple from forgotten myth. I landed on the crystalline balcony. scattering sparkles of heat into the cold mountain air. As I strode inside, high heels tapping against the obsidian-tiled floors, I was met by her. Velzard. My sister stood at the corridor, arms folded, frost hanging in the air around her like a veil. Her white hair draped over one shoulder, and her silver eyes regarded me with mild disinterest. "Where did you run off to?" she asked. "None of your business," I said with a snort. "Where's Veldanava?" "Inside," she said, stepping aside. I didn't wait. I marched straight down the hall, trailing a long shadow of heat in my wake. The throne room was dim, lit by constellations embedded into the stone ceiling. At its center stood him. Veldanava. My eldest brother, the origin of all things. His long black hair shimmered with stardust, cascading past his waist. White specks gleamed like galaxies across it. His horns curled backward, elegant and vast, framing his androgynous, angelic features. His glowing blue eyes, calm as the void, turned toward me as I entered. "Velgrynd," he said, voice soft but heavy with divinity. "You wish to speak with me?" "I do," I said, stepping forward, unshaken even in the presence of the Creator. "I met someone. In a forest, near a lake. He called himself Ashura. I want to know who he is." Veldanava's serene expression didn't falter, but I saw it. The faintest flicker in his gaze. He grew still. "When?" he asked, voice lower now. "When did you meet him?" "Earlier today," I answered. "Far from here, he said strange things, that he was an unnecessary existence. It made no sense." Veldanava looked away for a long moment, the stars in his hair dimming slightly. "Do not get too close to him," he said. I narrowed my eyes. "Why not?" "Because," he paused, "because he is an unnecessary existence." "That doesn't mean anything to me," I snapped. "You're talking in riddles." "I will tell you," he said, stepping toward the grand doors, in time. Then he left me alone. No answers. No explanations. Just more questions swirling in the still, frozen air. I stared at the place where he'd stood. My heart, once ignited by rage, now throbbed with confusion and, strangely, anticipation. Ashura. Who was he? Why did he feel so familiar? So significant? I bit my lip, eyes burning with resolve. I'd go back. I'd find him again. Not because I was weak or curious like a mortal girl, but because something in him stirred the flames within me in a way even Velzard never had. Tomorrow, I would return, and this time, I wouldn't let him vanish into the shadows. I returned. The morning wind carried with it the memory of yesterday's warmth, the strange weight of unfamiliar curiosity. My wings split the clouds as I soared above the green sea of treetops, the world below swallowed in mist. And yet, I knew where to go. As if my soul remembered the path before my eyes could mark it. I descended near the same lake, the waters glimmering like crystal under the midday light, the surface painted with drifting petals and a faint blue shimmer that danced like magic. I didn't know the name of this place. Perhaps it had none. Perhaps it had waited for someone like me to give it one. But before I could, I saw him. Ashura. Again. Seated in the same spot as though time never moved for him. Between the trees, where light filtered in rays like divine threads, he rested. Half veiled in shadow, book balanced in one hand, fingers so still they looked sculpted from pale marble. That same long, light blue hair spilled over his shoulder, catching the wind's sigh like it was made to carry it. His eyes, unreadable from this distance, still glowed faintly. He was beautiful. The thought hit me before I could suppress it, and I hated that. I was Velgrynd, a true dragon. My pride did not bend for mystery, or beauty, or softness. And yet, I landed in a whirl of heat and wind, my boots settling on the grass like falling meteors. "You're here again." "I'm always here," he said, voice as calm and precise as before, not even lifting his gaze from the pages. "This forest is where I belong." A frown tugged at my brow. Why live like this, alone, quiet, like a ghost haunting nature? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he closed the book, gently, reverently, like it was more than parchment and ink. Then he stood, brushing off invisible dust from his long black sleeves. "Listen, Lady Velgrynd," he said at last, "you should stop coming here." I scoffed, arms crossing over my chest, the gold dragon embroidery of my cheongsam glittering beneath the sun. You don't get to decide that. I go where I please. I do what I want. Then tell me, he said, tilting his head, his golden eyes now watching me with a soft intensity that felt dangerous. Why do you keep coming back? I opened my mouth, then stopped. That cursed silence bloomed between us, louder than thunder. I searched myself. Why was I here again? Why had I flown halfway across the continent 2 days in a row to find a man who spoke in riddles and shadows? Answers. Yes, I wanted answers. He called himself an unnecessary existence. So did Veldanava. But it meant nothing to me. It couldn't mean nothing. I hated mysteries. I hated what I didn't understand. I don't know, I admitted, though every fiber of my pride flinched. I need to know why you say such things. Why my brother says the same. Unnecessary existence, what does that even mean? Ashura looked at me for a long while. Then, as if against his better judgment, he sighed. I can only give you a clue, he said softly. That's more than enough, I said, stepping closer. Speak. I am. He paused, eyes drifting toward the canopy. A mirror to someone who already has a counterpart in nature. My mind reeled. Who is this person you mirror? It's better if you never find out, he answered, too fast, too firmly. I narrowed my eyes, the air around me heating. Why? I deserve to know. Because your siblings, especially your brother, would never want you near someone like me. They don't matter, I said, sharper than intended. Tell me this mystery of yours. He turned away. I'll be leaving now, running, I challenged, though the edge in my voice couldn't hide the tremor underneath. No, just fading. I don't have much time left in this world. I blinked. Then don't waste what's left. Come with me, I'll show you what you've never seen. I'll show you this world through the skies. The moment the words escaped, I froze. What am I saying? My pride, my constant, ever-burning pride, had gone silent. Around him, it melted like snow before fire. Ashura offered a rare, almost sorrowful smile. Thank you for the offer, Lady Velgrynd. But I must refuse. Then, without warning, he was gone. Again. I rushed through the forest, flying, burning, scattering trees with the trail of my flames. But I couldn't find him. The trees mocked me with their stillness. The shadows closed in. Once more, I was left with only silence. I didn't go home. Not this time. I stayed. Night fell gently, cloaking the forest in deep purples and silver light. The lake gleamed beneath the twin moons, one full and bright, the other waning and faint. I sat at the water's edge, white gloves resting in the grass, my reflection broken by each ripple. What am I doing? Velgrynd, the proudest of the true dragons, was waiting for a man who wouldn't give me answers, who left without a word. I could be soaring through stars, challenging Velzard again, or proving my worth before Veldanava. But instead, I was here, still, breathing the forest air, watching the sky. And I hated how much I didn't hate it. I wanted to see his face, all of it. I wanted to hear his voice again. Talk more, no, understand more. He stirred something in me that none of my siblings ever had. A sense of incompletion. The stars glittered like diamonds tossed across velvet. I closed my eyes, just for a moment. When I opened them, he was there, sitting on a large stone across the lake, directly in front of me. Ashura. Same posture. Same book, though now, I noticed, the pages were nearly at their end. The glow from the moons caught the edges of his features. His mouth. His jaw. His throat, pale like silver marble. And just a faint shimmer of one golden eye through his hair. He hadn't left me, not really, he was always there. Waiting. Didn't you leave? The voice, calm and silk smooth, broke the silence like ripples over still water. My gaze rose across the glimmering lake, to where he sat, Ashura, still on that stone, the closed book now resting on his lap. I crossed my arms beneath my chest, heat humming faintly around my skin, because I need to talk to you. He tilted his head slightly, his hair swaying with the night breeze like strands of moonlight. Why? That question again. So simple. So maddening. What do you mean, why? I snapped, though my voice lacked its usual bite. I didn't like not having answers. Not to him. Ashura exhaled through his nose, long and slow, and closed the book with the reverence of a final breath. Why are you here? Why do you keep coming? Each time you do, you make my time longer. I was supposed to be erased. Vanished. My breath caught. The air around me shifted, not from my flames, but from something colder, emptier. Something I couldn't name. What are you talking about? I asked, though I feared I already understood too much. Ashura lowered his gaze, not at me, but at the lake. I was sealed in this forest long ago. I don't know how long anymore. The bindings placed upon me were designed to let my existence fade, until nothing of me remained. That should have happened yesterday. That was the plan. His voice was soft, but I felt it like thunder in my ribs. And yet, he continued, looking up at me with those impossible eyes, here I am. Still here. Still existing. And I don't know why. The weight of his words pressed against my chest. 1,000 thoughts stormed my mind like a battle I couldn't control. He was supposed to vanish, yesterday. But why? Who did this? Why didn't Veldanava ever speak of this seal? Why does Ashura speak like someone waiting to be forgotten, and why do I care so much? What happened to you? I asked, stepping closer, my voice quieter than I expected. Really? Nothing, he replied without hesitation. Because I was born as nothing. I was supposed to vanish into nothing. That was always my fate. Yet you came. You, Velgrynd, came here, and now, I'm still here. You gave me a reason to exist. He looked at me now, not with bitterness, but with something stranger, something sadder. Why? I swallowed. My throat felt tight. I don't know, I whispered. I wanted to see you. Clearly. Completely. It's like, I don't understand it myself. But I needed to. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable, it was heavy, fragile. Ashura didn't speak. So I did what instinct told me. I stepped forward, then another step. Only 2 paces separated us now. What if I broke the seal? I asked. What if I destroyed whatever's keeping you here? Ashura's expression didn't change, it wouldn't do anything. I took one more step, now only a breath away. My voice was low, firm. Then let's change that. And in that moment, the moon reached its peak. A vast beam of silver light broke through the trees and bathed the forest in white brilliance. The shadows around Ashura dissolved. And I saw him, fully. His face was androgynous, but beyond beautiful. Smooth, pale skin like polished pearl. Sharp yet delicate features. Golden eyes that shone like twin suns, reflecting the moonlight with almost divine glow. And for a moment, I forgot every word, every thought. He wasn't a shadow, he wasn't a memory, he was real. I couldn't look away. You're beautiful, I murmured, pride be damned. My hand reached for his face before I could stop myself, my gloved fingers gently brushing his cheek. You're warm. Just like me, you're still alive. Ashura stepped back, not sharply, but with sad resolve. Listen, Velgrynd, my time was over. You were never meant to meet me. Forget about me. What do you mean? I asked, heart lurching as if tethered to something I couldn't reach. But he only smiled. Soft, lonely, and then, clouds passed over the moon. Darkness fell, veiling the world once more, just for a second. When the moon returned, he was gone. Vanished. Not like before. Not the kind of absence that felt temporary. No lingering warmth. No trace of presence. The forest was quiet. Still. As if he had never been there to begin with. I stood there, stunned. For once in my eternal life, I didn't know what to do. My pride, usually a roaring inferno, offered no words, no fire. Just a dull ache. A silence I didn't like. My chest felt hollow, like something had been pulled from it. I wanted to hear his voice again. I wanted him to say my name again. But all I had was the wind. He's gone. No, that couldn't be true. Not like that. Not without a goodbye. And yet, I stayed there long after the stars blinked brighter. The lake's reflection no longer showed 2 figures. Only me. Only Velgrynd, the flame dragon. Alone in the forest. But the ache in my chest wasn't from solitude, it was from absence. I clenched my fists. Fine. Let pride have its say, then. If Ashura thought he could vanish without an answer, he underestimated me. I would come back tomorrow, and the day after that, and the next, if needed. He wasn't gone. He couldn't be. I returned. Again. And again. And again. 1,000 times, 10,000 more. Time blurred, and still, I came. The forest did not change. The air was still fragrant with the mossy breath of ancient trees, and the crystal lake lay undisturbed, its surface unbroken save for the rare breeze or curious bird. And yet, the shadows that once held him, Ashura, remained empty. For days, for months, for years. Centuries passed. Millennia whispered through the branches, and still, I returned. Why? Even now, I cannot answer that with the certainty someone of my stature should possess. I am Velgrynd, the flame dragon, the crimson purity, one of the most supreme beings in existence. I do not yield. I do not wait. Yet for Ashura, I did. The world around me did not sleep as I did. Veldanava, my eldest brother, the Star King Dragon, the creator, had taken a human disciple, a brave youth named Rudra. A boy of immense potential, endlessly defiant and infuriatingly kind. Veldanava molded him into something greater. The first true hero, someone who could one day stand even against the likes of Guy Crimson, the red primordial turned demon lord. And alongside him came her, Lucia. Soft-spoken, gentle-eyed, not of our kind, not of divine flame or starlit breath, yet beautiful in a way that made the wind pause. I did not speak against Veldanava's choice. Neither did Velzard, my ever-composed elder sister. Why would we? He was our creator, our center. If he chose a mortal, it was not for us to question. It was only when he fell that I wondered. They bore a child, Milam Nava. That reckless, devastatingly strong girl. And for that birth, Veldanava paid everything. He gave away his powers. The divine spark, the gift of creation. The very thing that made him him. All for the sake of love and mortality. Foolish. So foolish it made my blood burn. Once, he ruled the stars. Now, he lay beside Lucia as nothing more than a man. A man who bled. A man who died. I wasn't there when it happened. I learned of it too late. Lucia gone. Veldanava dead. And Milam, dear, spiraling Milam, consumed by grief and fury, awakened as a true demon lord in a storm of unquenchable rage. The Demon Lord Council formed in the aftermath. Guy Crimson sat atop his throne, smug and ever smiling, joined by Ramirez the Spirit Queen, and Milam herself. I did not weep. Not in front of anyone. Never, but when I stood again at the lake in the forest. Alone beneath the weight of memories that no longer breathed, the wind tasted like ash and salt. Years went on. Tens of them, hundreds, thousands. 17 centuries since the day Veldanava vanished from this world, and I remained. The flame dragon. Unshaken, undefeated, and alone. Veldora, our chaotic youngest brother, was sealed by a hero. A detail I barely blinked at. Velzard never visited him. I only did so to pass the time, to feel the presence of kin, however irritating his thunderous laughter might be. He feared me, as he feared Velzard. With good reason. But even that became routine. What remained was this place. This forest. This lake. 4,000 years. That's how long I have returned here, every single day, without fail. 1,461,370 days. The world changed. Kingdoms rose and crumbled into dust. Dragons fell. Humans evolved. Demons slithered out of the dark and learned to walk like men. Heroes became myths. My name, whispered across continents, invoked fear and reverence, and yet, I still came back here, to the edge of the lake where silence ruled, waiting. Waiting for a shadow that never returned. Waiting for a voice that once called me by name with such calm, unshaken clarity it shook me more than battle ever had. A mirror to someone that already had a counterpart of nature. Those were his words, cryptic, unfinished, like him. Veldanava once said not to seek him. Called him unnecessary, said the time would come when I would understand. But that time never came. Because he vanished, and my brother, my creator, died. So, who now would give me answers? The lake glittered beneath a twin moon, its reflection pale and cold. I watched it in silence, hands behind my back, clad in the black silk of my cheongsam. The golden dragon embroidered on my chest glinted softly with each breath. My gloves were spotless. My hair, coiled in proud twin buns, trailed like dark ribbons of smoke behind me. To any eye, I was the picture of strength and grace. But inside, I was tired. Tired of silence. Of the unanswered questions. Of the emptiness that somehow made a home in me where none should ever belong. Why did you leave? I asked the wind. Why did you give me a reason to wait, and then never return? The wind did not answer, only rustled the leaves. Yet still, I hoped. Still, I believed. Even if it hurt. Even if the pride I held like a crown on my head cracked under the weight of longing. Somewhere deep inside, I still held the foolish belief that one day, he would return. That one day, Ashura would come back, not just as a flicker of shadow or a vanishing presence, but fully, completely, and with the truth. The truth I never stopped chasing. Why did you call yourself unnecessary? Why did you seem so calm in the face of erasure? Why did you vanish with that smile that I can't forget, no matter how many centuries pass? I am Velgrynd. I burn brighter than the stars. I scorch through lies. I do not fall prey to mortal emotions. And yet, when I think of you, Ashura, I burn with something I cannot control. I need to know why. I will wait, even if it takes eternity. Third person POV deep beneath the earth where light rarely reached and silence reigned eternal. Nestled within the shadows of a forgotten cave, there existed a space unlike any other, untouched by time, sealed away from war and divinity alike, an ancient cavern whose walls shimmered faintly with magicules embedded within crystallized veins of glowing ore. In the heart of this subterranean sanctuary bloomed a field of soft, luminescent grasses, their edges kissed with dew like mana droplets, surrounded by clusters of alchemic herbs and scattered fragments of precious magic stones, forming a garden born not of human hands but of natural magic condensed over millennia. And resting, no, more accurately lying completely still, at the center of that emerald glade was a simple creature. A creature so unassuming and unthreatening that the sheer absurdity of its existence in such a mystical place could only be described as paradoxical. A blue slime. Translucent, perfectly spherical, glowing faintly with the essence of raw rebirth. It had no limbs, no eyes, no mouth. It simply pulsed gently, as if testing its own existence in this alien world. Then, after what seemed like hours of absolute stillness, it moved. First a ripple through its gel-like body, then a sudden bounce, a curious roll forward, then back again. The slime wobbled, hopped slightly in place, and after a few more testing motions, it stopped and remained utterly still once more. Within the slime, a consciousness flickered to full awareness, like a candle catching flame in a cold cavern. So I'm a slime now, huh? The voice echoed not in sound but in thought, an internal monologue carried within the slime's awakened spirit. Well, I guess I can't go back to my old life now anyway, might as well accept it. Reincarnated as a slime. Great. Then, squish. The slime paused, suddenly aware of a soft, pillowy sensation beneath its body. It shifted slightly, uncertain. Wait, what's this? It feels squishy, warm. A smooth, serene voice responded in his mind, not mechanical, not entirely human, but calmly authoritative. Less than, notice. You are currently resting on a bed of medicinal herbs. Species. Aqua silverleaf, a rare plant used in healing potions and elixirs. Greater than. The slime jolted in confusion. What the? Who's speaking? Less than, answer. I am your unique skill, great sage, greater than. Unique skill? Wait. Like a game? I have a game system? This really is like an anime? Less than, affirmative. You possess 3 unique skills. Would you like an appraisal? Greater than? Why yeah, please. Go ahead. There was a moment of analysis, a strange sensation like hundreds of gears clicking into place inside his mind, before the voice returned with an almost ceremonial air. Less than, appraisal complete. You possess the following unique skills. Greater than. Less than 1. Great Sage, a cognitive processing skill capable of granting near instantaneous analysis, strategic evaluation, memory storage, and parallel thought. Greater than. Less than 2. Predator, a devour and analyze ability that allows you to consume organic or inorganic material, analyze its properties, and replicate or evolve abilities. Greater than. Less than 3. Stella. A growth-type skill. Absorbs magicules and unknown energy daily. Once adapted to the unknown aspect, it will begin absorbing unknown elemental concepts. Final goal. Evolve the user into a limitless being. Greater than. The slime pulsed, visibly rippling in shock. Wah! What kind of op fantasy protagonist build is this? He rolled in a small circle, his translucent body glowing slightly more vibrantly. This is insane. This is totally like a fantasy light novel or some MMORPG. But wait, what even are magicules? That word keeps popping up. Less than, explanation. Magicules are particles of pure magic energy, the foundation of all power in this world. Every living and non-living thing contains or is affected by magicules. Greater density equals higher potential. Greater than. The slime let the information settle in, pulsing slowly in rhythm with his own thoughts. So this world runs on magicules, which means, I need to absorb as many as I can to evolve. That's what that Stella skill is hinting at, limitless being, huh? He paused for a moment, then bounced once. Alright, then, no need to waste time. He wobbled in a semi-determined manner, trying to spin in place. Let's begin this adventure in my new life, as a slime. Goal number 1. Don't die. He paused, thinking again. Wait, I probably need a name, huh? But that can wait, I'll figure things out step by step. Then, with a little bounce of pride, the small blue creature who would one day shake the heavens and stir the hearts of dragons declared with sheer, earnest excitement, Yush. New life, new me. Let's go. And so, inside that quiet cave, known to the world only as the Storm Dragon's prison, beneath ancient stone and stars long forgotten, the world shifted without realizing it, for something that was never meant to exist had now begun its journey. Far beneath the surface of a forest that had long since been forgotten by history and time. Past the entangled roots of ancient trees and beyond the reach of sunlight's golden fingers, there existed a vast, echoing cavern, one so deep and wide that it could be mistaken for a hollowed-out world unto itself, its stone walls lined with shimmering deposits of magicite and laced with wild medicinal herbs that glowed faintly in the dark like stars scattered across a velvet canvas, the air dense with elemental energy so potent it might suffocate an unworthy soul upon entry. And nestled within the heart of this cave, far from the sealed chamber where the mighty storm dragon Veldora raged endlessly against the curse that bound him, was a strange patch of emerald grass, soft, impossibly alive in this buried grave of the world. And upon that grass, seemingly out of place, rested a small, glistening, featureless form. A slime. Blue, jiggly, unassuming. Yet even the quietest shapes can harbor storms. Suddenly, the slime stirred, not with purpose, but more like instinct, a restless roll forward, then a bounce, then stillness again, as though it were testing the limits of this new flesh, this strange body without limbs, without eyes, without breath. For what seemed like an hour, it did little more than vibrate softly atop the grass, faint pulses of energy rippling through its membrane like the tremors of some awakening god. Then, without warning, a thought, dry, curious, laced with humor, bubbled up from within. So I'm a slime, huh? Well, guess I can't exactly reverse the reincarnation now. Might as well accept it. But as the thought settled, he suddenly recoiled slightly, or as much as a jelly-like creature could recoil. For beneath him was something soft, something pillowy, delicate, and subtly fragrant, and that was saying something considering he didn't have a nose. What is this? It feels kind of nice, actually, soft. Less than answer. The object you are currently absorbing is a high-grade medicinal herb. A rare species, known for its exceptional healing properties and high magicule density. Greater than. The slime jolted, or rather, quivered in alarm. Wait. Who said that? Who's in my head? Less than answer. I am your unique skill, great sage. I have been assigned to you upon reincarnation, per your subconscious desires. Greater than. Unique. Skill? The slime repeated, his tone caught between awe and disbelief. So like a video game or something. Man, I really did get the anime cheat sheet, huh? Less than affirmative. Would you like me to initiate an appraisal of your skills? Greater than. Yeah, sure, why not? Go ahead. Surprise me. Less than confirmed. Initiating appraisal. Beginning analysis. Greater than. There was a brief pause, and then, less than you possess 3 unique skills. Would you like them listed? Greater than? Absolutely. Hit me. Less than 1. Great Sage. A cognitive skill that offers analytical capability, skill evolution, and automatic parallel thought processing. In short, I help you think faster, better, and smarter. Greater than. Okay. I'm basically a walking brain blob. That's cool. Less than 2. Predator. Allows the user to absorb organic and inorganic matter, analyze it, and replicate properties or abilities. Includes sub-skills. Stomach, analyze, mimic, isolate, and storage. Greater than. Oh ho ho ho. Now we're talking. This is some serious cheat code stuff. Less than 3. Stella. A growth type skill. This ability absorbs surrounding magicules and unknown energy, strengthening the user every day. After adapting to unknown, it begins to consume unknown, evolving the user toward becoming a limitless entity. Greater than. Wait. What unknown energy? What does that even mean? Less than classified. Insufficient data. Greater than. Well, that's not ominous at all, the slime muttered. Sarcasm practically dripping from his thoughts. This is like every fantasy RPG I ever played got thrown in a blender with cosmic horror and anime logic. Not complaining, though. He paused, his gelatinous form jiggling as he bobbed forward slightly. By the way, what are magicules exactly? Like mana or something? Less than explanation. Magicules are the fundamental particle of power in this world. They are the source of magical phenomena, the currency of strength, and the very breath of divine and demonic existence. Greater than. The slime nodded, or did something like a nod, more of a philosophical agreement than a physical gesture. Got it. Okay. New world, new life. First goal. Try not to die. And with that, he bounced forward again, rolling across the grass field as he eagerly slurped up herbs and munched on the strange, glittering stones scattered like candy across the cave floor. Not because he understood their value, but because, well, what else was he supposed to do? Inside his mind, a voice piped up. Hey, great sage. I'm bored. Give me something random to do. Less than acknowledged. Task 1. Attempt to communicate with a rock. Greater than. Really? A rock? Alright. Hey rock, how's it rollin'? Ha. Less than task 2. Attempt to impersonate a dragon. Greater than. Gra. Did I do it right? I feel like Veldora would be offended. Wait, who is Veldora? Andiwi knew that name. Whatever. Less than task 3. Compose a limerick about slime life. Greater than. There once was a blob made of goo. Who wondered what slimes ought to do? He rolled and he bounced. On herbs he pounced, then splashed in a puddle of dew. Less than task 4. Attempt to dig with non-existent limbs. Greater than. I'm literally just slapping the ground with my face. This is humiliating. Less than task 5. Practice stealth. Greater than. What stealth? I'm blue and shiny. I light up like a disco ball. Less than task 6. Declare yourself king of the cave. Greater than. I hereby claim this grass patch in the name of slimekind. Bow before me, moss. Less than task 7. Try to climb the wall. Greater than. Wall. 1. Slime. 0. Less than task 8. Make a friend out of a pebble. Greater than. I shall name you Pebbler. We ride at dawn. Less than task 9. Compose a haiku. Greater than. Slime in a dark cave. Boundless joy in every bounce, no hands, no problems. Less than task 10. Establish an empire of monsters to overthrow gods and reign supreme over both heaven and earth. Greater than. Quote. Wait, what? Hold up. That escalated really fast. Less than acknowledged. Greater than. Empire of monsters. Against gods and humans. With me as a god. That's absurd. I'm a blob. But, I mean, maybe someday? And just as he finished that thought, he rolled unexpectedly forward and splashed into a pool of water with a cartoonishly loud plop. Did I just fall into water? Oh no, wait, can I drown? Less than answer. No, slimes do not possess lungs and therefore cannot drown. Greater than. Phew, thank the heavens. That'd be an embarrassing way to go. As he began absorbing the water instinctively, he used the momentum to float toward the edge, but ended up bouncing face first into a rock wall with a loud, wet splat. Ow. Wait, I can't feel pain, but still, that felt like it should have hurt. He bobbed in frustration, spinning in place, trying to pretend he wasn't deeply embarrassed by crashing into solid stone while alone in a cave. And then, from the echoing darkness, came a voice. Deep, calm, ancient. Can you hear me, little one? The slime froze, huh? The cavern, ancient and silent save for the low hum of swirling magical energy, pulsed faintly with otherworldly light, casting long shadows across the jagged black walls that had for millennia served as the eternal prison of the storm dragon, Veldora, a beast of immense power, sealed by the legendary hero in an era now receding into the distant memory of the world. Deep within that barrier, held tight in a lattice of dimensional space distortion and ethereal suppression, the great black Wyrm lay coiled, massive wings tucked close, eyes glowing faintly gold behind narrowed slits, the weight of solitude pressing down on his soul like an ocean of lead. Before him, standing with the poise of a queen and the elegance of a divine flame given mortal form, was a woman whose very presence seemed to warp the air with pride, purpose, and undeniable authority. She stood without fear, arms crossed beneath her chest, long midnight blue hair coiled into twin buns with ribbons trailing behind her like silk banners caught in unseen wind, golden eyes narrowed in both faint amusement and carefully concealed longing. Her attire was no less regal. A sleek black keepout traced with an intricate golden dragon, clinging to her curves and slitted high at the sides to reveal the smooth expanse of her legs, as if she dared the world to look and tremble at the sight of true power incarnate. Upon her hands were ivory gloves, spotless and untouched by time, for she was not one to dirty herself unless necessity demanded it. "Hello, little brother," she said finally, her voice languid, cool, and sharp as molten gold poured into a blade, mocking and fond in equal measure, as only an elder sister of unshakable superiority could deliver. Veldora, his immense body tensing with instinctive dread, lifted his head slightly, the glowing aura of the barrier flickering as if to shrink away from her divine presence. "As Sister Velgrynd," he stammered, his tone a nervous blend of forced cheer and deep-seated survival instinct. It's nice to see you again. It's really been a while, hasn't it?" She sighed, long and drawn out, as if his very greeting had exhausted the last reserves of her patience. "Yes. Unfortunately," she replied, her gaze flicking briefly to the transparent shimmer of his prison. "I was curious." "Curious?" he echoed, eyes wide. "What does it feel like to be sealed?" she asked, without emotion, without judgment, simply stating the question as one might ask the temperature of bathwater or the taste of an unfamiliar fruit. Veldora recoiled slightly, not from offense but from the raw discomfort of the question, wings shivering against his sides. Well, you know, it's lonely. There's no one to talk to, and time passes in this dreadful slow crawl. It's like being buried alive in silence. You start talking to yourself after the first few centuries, just to remember what your voice sounds like." Velgrynd's golden eyes dimmed slightly, her arms lowering, fingertips brushing lightly against her hip as a thought. No, a memory, passed like a shadow across her expression. "I wonder," she said, her voice quieter now, touched with something almost brittle, if he felt the same way. Veldora blinked. You're still thinking about that guy? That mystery person from the past? Sister, it's been over 4,000 years? Her golden gaze turned to him, sharp as a blade unsheathed. "And, you think I do not know that?" she snapped, her voice rising like a sudden blaze. "You think I haven't counted the days? You think I haven't waited long enough for him to return, to explain why he vanished from this world like a dream at dawn?" Her chest heaved once, but she composed herself in the span of a breath, arms folding again with that unmistakable grace only someone truly born to rule could manage. "He will return. To me." Veldora, ever the embodiment of childlike chaos despite his terrifying form, gave a nervous chuckle. "Why yeah, well, if you say so. I always thought that guy was kinda weird. you know. Never said much. Gave off those mysterious loner vibes. And you were always too proud to admit you. Enough, Veldora, she hissed, eyes narrowing to slits, and with that, he wisely silenced himself. But then, from across the great cavern chamber, a sudden thwack echoed, sharp and abrupt. Something soft and squishy slammed into the rock wall with a wet plop, sliding slightly before bouncing once in protest. Both dragons turned. Was that a slime? Veldora asked, eyes blinking in confusion. Velgrynd stared, sighed, and with regal disdain muttered, "It's just a useless blob," turning on her heel, her long legs already carrying her toward the exit. "I'm leaving. I've had enough pointless conversation for one day." Wait. Sister Velgrynd, Veldora called after her, but she was already gone, trailing dragonic pride like a comet's tail, leaving only the faintest scorch mark of her magic where she stood moments before. "Well, she's still terrifying," Veldora mumbled to himself before shifting his attention to the curious blue blob that now lay twitching on the floor like a stunned jellybean. He cleared his throat, or the draconic equivalent of it, and spoke aloud, his deep voice rumbling like distant thunder. "Can you hear me, little one?" The slime froze mid-bounce. Inside his squishy mind, a voice flickered. Who is talking? Wait, is this it? My first encounter with an actual person in this world? He paused, internally panicking. But wait, I don't have a mouth. How'd I even talk? I said, do not ignore me. Speak now, or I'll assume you're defective, Veldora huffed. Less than warning. Emotional spike detected. Suggest calming response. Greater than. Shut up, Baldy, Rimuru blurted internally before realizing the thought had projected. A deep silence followed. Ho, what did you say to me? Veldora growled, a golden eye twitching. You were either very brave, or extraordinarily foolish. I'm sorry, the slime thought, wobbling apologetically. I got a bit worked up. I didn't know I could talk with thoughts. This is wild. How are we doing this, anyway? It's telepathy, obviously, Veldora muttered, exhaling with mild irritation. You must be some kind of unique slime if you're capable of this level of thought. Rimuru hesitated. Well, you could say that. Actually, I'm a reincarnated human, from another world. There was a pause. A reincarnated human, Veldora repeated, slowly blinking. Then he laughed, a thunderous, echoing roar that shook loose dust from the cave ceiling. What a fascinating surprise. You must be quite special indeed. Although, come to think of it, this world isn't unfamiliar with such things. Plenty of otherworlders have been summoned here before, heroes, sages, warlords, but reincarnated into a slime. That's a first. Rimuru's thoughts flickered with wry humor. Yeah, no kidding. But hey, I guess it's good to be unique, right? And so, in that strange sealed space beneath the world, the most unlikely of friendships began. Between a sealed ancient dragon of chaotic nature and a freshly reborn slime with a sharp mind, boundless curiosity, and a destiny unlike any other. Within that vast subterranean cavern, still cloaked in the shimmering haze of residual magic, still echoing faintly with the thunderous laughter of the sealed storm dragon, the air had shifted, subtly but unmistakably, as though the ageless silence that had long reigned within the tomb of stone and stasis had at last begun to loosen its grip, like ancient chains creaking beneath new weight. The dragon, coiled like a mountainous beast carved from shadow and lightning, stared down with glittering eyes at the strange blue blob that pulsed gently at the edge of the barrier, its jelly-like form shifting this way and that with innocent curiosity rather than fear, for where others would have quaked in the presence of a true dragon, creatures born from the will of the original creator himself, this one simply stared in fascination. So, the slime said, or rather, thought, since neither mouth nor lips graced his boneless form, you've been stuck in here for 300 years. All alone. Veldora grunted, his voice reverberating with the weight of suppressed storms. Yes. A woman, a hero, clad in light, wielding a sword infused with divine power, sealed me away. I had raised too many cities, left too many scars. She struck me down with a sealing spell that wrapped around my essence and locked me in this space. A spiritual imprisonment. A fitting punishment, perhaps, but an exceedingly boring one. The slime bobbed thoughtfully. That sounds rough. I mean, at least I got to die first. You died? Veldora asked, his serpentine head tilting slightly. Yeah, stabbed to death in my world. Japan. Nothing glorious. Just some street punk with a knife. But next thing I know, I'm waking up here, and I'm a slime. Which is weird, but kinda fun. The dragon blinked, then chuckled. You are an odd one. Most humans who arrive in this world do so through summoning rituals, forcibly ripped from their homes by greedy kings and mad mages. Reincarnation, though rare, happens. But into a slime? Truly absurd. I know, right? The slime said, bouncing slightly in place. But hey, I've got this voice in my head that helps me out. Super useful. Less than affirmative. This voice is me. I am the unique skill. Great sage. Greater than. See? That. Super helpful. And it was in that moment, a flicker of warmth, a rising sense of wonder, that a new sensation blossomed within the slime's core. Where before there had only been a haze of magical awareness, like walking blindfolded through a scented forest, now there was clarity. Form. Light. Shapes. Less than acquisition confirmed. Extra skill, magic sense, greater than. It began with a ripple, a tremor within his perception, as if reality itself peeled back layer by layer, revealing the shapes of the cave around him, the textures of the stone, the shimmer of residual magic, and, most astonishingly, the overwhelming, coiled presence of the entity before him. For the first time, the slime saw Veldora, in all his terrifying, majestic glory, a dragon whose scales shimmered like starlight cast in obsidian, whose wings curled with divine power, and whose golden eyes burned with a mischievous intellect. Instead of recoiling in terror, as might be expected of a creature so small in the presence of such raw might, the slime vibrated with excitement. Whoa! You're a dragon. An actual dragon. That's so cool. Veldora blinked. You are not afraid? Nope. You look amazing. You are a very strange slime. Grinning inwardly, the slime pulsed once, bouncing slightly closer. So hey, Veldora, wanna be friends? There was a pause. A long, still moment of silence, then. Bahahahahahahahaha. The dragon's laugh exploded through the cavern like a thunderclap, echoing across stone and magical seal alike. A true dragon, friend to a slime? That's hilarious. Geez, you don't have to shout it like that, the slime muttered, bouncing in exasperation. So, what do you say? Veldora's golden gaze softened, his grin broad and mischievous. Be proud, slime. You have conversed with one of the most powerful beings in all existence. And yes, I accept you as my friend. After all this talking, how could I not? The slime wobbled with delight. Internally, he thought, he might look terrifying, but deep down, Veldora's a giant puppy. A storm puppy. A soft, chaotic, fire-breathing puppy. Anyway, Veldora, the slime asked after a moment, just checking, you can't break this barrier, right? The dragon groaned. Tried countless times. I have battered it with force, infused it with energy, attempted dimensional distortion. All attempts have failed. It holds me fast. The slime rolled forward, approaching the edge of the barrier. Well then, time for a little experiment. He extended his jelly-like body to press gently against the shimmering wall. Hey, great sage. Can this thing be broken? Less than answer. Under normal conditions, it is extremely difficult for you to break the seal. Greater than. Normal conditions? The slime asked, intrigued. You mean there's a chance? Less than affirmative. Due to your unique metabolic process, specifically your absorption of surrounding magical ools and the presence of unknown energy within your core, there is a 90.5% probability that you could disrupt the barrier's stability. Greater than. The slime froze. 90 what percent? Seriously? That high? Less than caution. Analysis required to determine if sufficient energy is present to fully neutralize the barrier. Shall I begin? Greater than. Yes. Absolutely. Go ahead. A few tense moments passed as the slime quivered in place, while internally, his consciousness dimmed slightly, the world fading into abstract pulses and lines as Great Sage engaged in full core analysis mode. Less than estimated time, 10 minutes. Commencing diagnostic scan. Greater than. And so he waited, Veldora watching curiously, tail twitching slightly behind him as magic gathered and data streamed through invisible networks of energy, until at last. Less than scan complete. Analysis report. Core currently contains 2.0%, unknown, energy. Required amount to release Veldora. 1.5%. Conclusion. Release is viable. Greater than. Excellent. The slime said, spinning in place. He turned to face the dragon, who was watching with growing intrigue. Hey Veldora. What if I told you I could break this seal? The dragon froze, his massive head jerking slightly. You, what? I said, I have a way. Want me to give it a try, buddy? There was silence once more, brief, yet weighted with centuries of longing and disbelief. Then Veldora threw back his head and roared with laughter. Interesting. Very well, my friend. If you truly believe you can do it, then I place my faith in you. Proceed. All right then, the slime said, bouncing backward. Get ready. Less than awaiting confirmation. Shall I initiate the procedure? Greater than? Do it, Rimuru thought, his form trembling with anticipation. And then, something deep within him stirred. A pulse. A ripple. The unknown energy surged forth like a river unbound, flooding his being with iridescent light, and the great sage, calm and clear, spoke within the current. Less than commencing seal disruption. Applying energy conversion protocol. Greater than. The barrier flickered, first like a candle caught in the wind, then like a mirror beginning to crack under pressure. And then, with a sound like shattering glass combined with thunder rolling backward through time, the dimensional seal broke. The light died, and Veldora, blinking in awe and disbelief, stared in silence at the dissipating field, his senses stretching outward for the first time in centuries. I'm free, he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion, golden eyes wide in stunned wonder. I'm free. The cavern trembled beneath the echoing roar. A thunderous bellow torn from the depths of Veldora's chest. A voice unbound after 3 centuries of suffocating stillness. A cry that surged with all the pent-up pride, frustration, and exaltation of a dragon born to soar, now tasting freedom once more. His wings, though crumpled from centuries of inactivity, instinctively flared out, slicing the air with streaks of raw magicule, and in his exhilaration, his entire being detonated with an unchecked eruption of storm-imbued magical energy, like a tempest given form. The radiant flood of magicalools, crackling like living lightning, surged outward in every direction, and the poor blue slime, who had bounced innocently in place nearby, was sent flying like a ragdoll across the cavern, smacking against the stone wall with a wet splat, only to slide down in a jelly-like heap, twitching from the shockwave. Veldora blinked, his massive eyes narrowing. Oh no, I forgot how strong I was. My bad, are you all right? From the wall, the slime peeled himself off with a weary wiggle. No worries, he muttered, shaking slightly. Just a bit of a power nap. With impact trauma. The dragon chuckled, a little sheepishly. Ahem. I might have overdone it. Just a little, the slime said, bouncing back toward him. That was intense. You really don't do anything half-heartedly, huh? Of course not. I am Veldora, the mighty storm dragon, avatar of endless storms, and, now, liberated thanks to you, my first and only friend in centuries. The slime rippled modestly. Hey, happy to help. Their laughter echoed for a moment before fading into a more relaxed quiet, the tension of the previous seal shattered, both physically and emotionally. Then, as they both took in the silence, something shifted between them. No longer dragon and intruder, but friends. So, Rimuru began casually, his tone light and curious. About your body. What about it? Veldora rumbled. Well, it's kinda huge. Like, really massive. I don't think we're getting out of this cave if you're like that. He gestured with a metaphorical hand, mentally tracing the enormous horns and towering wings that scraped the high ceiling. Veldora blinked. Yes. That is a problem. You can't, shrink down? Like, take on a human form or something. At that, the dragon, normally so confident, so resoundingly bombastic, faltered. A visible twitch ran through his tail. I cannot, He admitted after a beat, his tone tinged with what might have been embarrassment. I am not particularly skilled at controlling my magical ule output. It tends to overflow. Wildly. The slime blinked. Don, T asked how, seriously? I thought dragons were all, like, naturally gifted. I am naturally gifted, Veldora retorted, bristling. But raw power does not translate to finesse, all right? Hey. Fair. Still, the question nagged at Rimuru. If Veldora couldn't take on a human form, then how were they supposed to leave this cavern without blowing a hole through the ceiling or collapsing the structure entirely? Less than solution available. Greater than? Rimuru asked silently. Less than through application of Stella and expenditure of 1.5% of unknown energy, it is possible to convert Veldora's draconic body into a stabilized human form vessel, allowing him to exist in a suppressed magical ule state while maintaining all personality and core essence. Greater than. Rimuru's thoughts stalled. Wait, what? I can do that? Less than affirmative. The process utilizes the unique soul-binding functions of Stella, in tandem with a mid-grade magic stone as a catalyst. Greater than. That's crazy. This skill is so overpowered. Less than acknowledge. Initiating conversion. Greater than. Wait, wah. There was a pulse. No, a radiance. Light bloomed in the air around Veldora, swirling with strands of silver and violet as the draconic form began to shimmer and melt, the scales receding into golden light, the enormous body compacting, reshaping, restructuring. There was no scream, no pain. Only a luminous, spellborn transition that seemed almost divinely orchestrated. Rimuru bounced backward in awe, staring wide-eyed as the storm dragon vanished, and in his place stood a man. Tall, easily over 6 feet, muscular but proportionate, clad in a long flowing coat conjured from condensed magicule fabric, with short blonde hair that gleamed like sunfire, and fierce golden eyes that blazed with barely contained laughter and arrogance. You did this? Veldora asked, blinking and looking down at his new hands. This is your doing? Rimuru twitched. Kinda. Yeah? Veldora laughed uproariously. Bawahaha. I knew you were incredible, my friend. But this is a whole different level. Look at me. I'm gorgeous. Also, he paused, stretching a hand, feeling the air. My magical ools, they're contained. This form, it automatically controls my output. This is revolutionary. Rimuru, still spinning mentally, flailed slightly. I totally planned that. Yep. All me. Just a natural genius. Less than analysis complete. Veldora human vessel. Stable. Additional note. Host is now able to mimic form via inherited analysis. Initiating mimicry protocol. Greater than. Huh. Wait. What? A second pulse flared, this one internal. Slime felt himself shifting, his form elongating, solidifying, bones and flesh woven from his slime core, forged from magicules shaped by instinct and analysis. When the light faded, he stood, slightly shorter than Veldora, clad in a shimmering black robe, with a body almost ethereal in androgynous elegance. His skin pale like moonlight, his eyes molten gold, and his hair. Oh, his hair. Cascading like a silver-blue waterfall far past his hips, glowing faintly as if reflecting the cosmos itself. Veldora's jaw dropped. What? You have a human form? Slime looked down at his own hands, twisting and stretching fingers as if uncertain they were real. Apparently. Yep. Totally part of the plan. You didn't even mean to? Of course I did, Slime lied, proudly folding his arms, despite never having had them before. I'm just that good. I'm in awe, Veldora said reverently. Truly, the way you manipulate existence, I knew from the moment I saw you. No, I knew when you dared to befriend me. You were destined for greatness. Well, Slime said, polishing his nails on his chest dramatically. I don't like to brag. But yes, I am. Veldora laughed, slapping his own knee. Then let us go forth, mighty friend. This world shall tremble before our power. Slime nodded sagely. Hair is very important, vital, even. Less than note. You are now able to freely shift between slime and human form via mimicry. Human vessel functions at optimal magical control. Greater than. Rimuru sighed mentally. Of course, thanks, great sage. Less than you are welcome. Greater than he wouldn't say it aloud. Not yet, but in his heart, he knew. He owed more than he could ever express to that calm, guiding voice that never failed him. Still, for now, he'd take the credit. Because Veldora was watching him with awe, and maybe, just maybe, he'd earned it. Well then, the slime said, shifting slightly in his new human form, his silver-blue hair cascading past his hips like a waterfall of moonlight woven with threads of starlight, and his golden eyes. Sharp, inquisitive, yet strangely calm, glancing toward the exit of the cavern as if it were the beginning of a grand story yet to unfold. That was a lot. But now that it's done, the next thing is to get out of this cave. Veldora, his golden eyes still wide with the residual awe of transformation, his muscular human frame radiating barely suppressed magical density even now despite its restraint, nodded solemnly once, then turned to walk forward, before suddenly halting with a dramatic pivot, lifting one arm like a theater actor pausing for effect. Wait a minute, he declared. The slime, still blinking in bemusement from the intensity of earlier, tilted his head. Huh? What is it? Veldora smirked. You don't have a name, do you? For a moment, the human-formed slime stiffened, blinking as if something had just occurred to him that should have been obvious. Wait, I do have a name, right? Less than negative. The name used in your previous life does not apply to this form or existence. You are currently nameless. Greater than. Seriously. Less than affirmative. Greater than? Huh, the slime murmured aloud, his androgynous expression flickering between thoughtful and amused. I guess, I don't have a name yet. Veldora crossed his arms, eyes gleaming with absolute pride. Then allow me, Veldora, the mighty and benevolent storm dragon, to bestow one upon you. In exchange, you must give me a family name. Those things humans have, I find them cool. The slime blinked. Oh, sure, sounds fair, go ahead. Good. Now brace yourself, Veldora declared, stroking his chin theatrically. From now on, you shall be, Glupeus. Number, Bouncerian. Absolutely not, Flubberus Maximus. Do I look like a jester spell component? Wiggledom the Infinite. Why are you like this? Blobastro. Stop trying to make me sound like a failed dessert. Squishius III. There weren't even a first or second. Sir Glorpington of Slimebury. Okay, now you're just making stuff up. Fine, Veldora sighed with great flair, waving away his previous suggestions like one might a fly made of embarrassment. Then he folded his arms, exhaled slowly, and looked upon the glowing, graceful form of the slime in human guise with uncharacteristic seriousness. Then, from now on, your name shall be, Rimuru Ashra. The cavern seemed to still in response to the name, as though it had been waiting, perhaps for centuries, for those syllables to be spoken aloud. Rimuru's golden eyes widened slightly. Rimuru, Ashra. A gentle light began to rise from his body, a golden radiance that pulsed like the heartbeat of the world itself, enveloping him from head to toe in a quiet embrace that felt not like fire but like purpose finally settling into form. Less than naming complete. Individual now designated. Rimuru Ashra. Greater than. And within the quiet of his thoughts, Rimuru could only smile. It feels, he whispered aloud, like that name was meant for me. Veldora, standing proudly, grinned with all the brightness of a thunderstorm turned inward. Well then, Rimuru Ashra, it's your turn now. Rimuru blinked. My turn. You're to give me a family name, remember? Oh, right. Rimuru grinned, placing a finger to his chin in mock contemplation, eyes gleaming with a teasing glint. Well, you are the storm dragon. How about, Tempest? As in, raging storm. It fits. Veldora beamed like a god receiving praise for the first time. Marvelous. Then from now on, I am Veldora Tempest, the mighty and resplendent storm dragon reborn. He struck a pose that would have made a mortal emperor blush from inadequacy. And you, he added grandly, turning toward Rimuru with a dramatic sweep of his arm, shall be known forevermore as Rimuru Ashra Tempest, my one and only named companion and true best friend. For a long moment, Rimuru stared at him, this over the top, utterly ridiculous, yet strangely moving man who had once been a sealed dragon feared by the world, and smiled gently. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think I like that." Veldora clapped his hands together. "So, what do we do now? The world awaits." Rimuru looked upward at the cavern ceiling, then back at Veldora, a mischievous glint now surfacing in his eyes. "Well, I do have one idea." "Oh, I'm not totally sure yet," Rimuru admitted, tilting his head thoughtfully, "but what would you say to building an empire and becoming gods?" For a moment, silence reigned. Then Veldora's laughter erupted like a volcanic thunderclap. "Yes. That is exactly what I wanted to hear. Empire. Glory. Divinity. Let's burn the sky with ambition and carve our names across the very bones of the world." Rimuru grinned. "Then it's settled. We build an empire, show our might, and become gods." Veldora threw his hands up. "At last, a worthy dream. My dear Rimuru Ashra Tempest, you think on a divine scale." Less than notice. Current location is within the central region of the Jura Forest, a vast and dangerous land populated by numerous monster species. Subject: Veldora Tempest has long been acknowledged by these monsters as a guardian deity. Greater than. Rimuru blinked. "Isn't that perfect?" Veldora looked over. "What's perfect?" "The monsters," Rimuru explained, "already recognize you as their guardian deity. That gives us a huge head start. You just need to make an official announcement." Veldora raised a brow. "An announcement?" Rimuru nodded, then grinned mischievously. "Just let them know that I'm your friend. And a guardian deity as well." Veldora threw back his head and laughed, his golden eyes burning with delighted pride. "As if I wouldn't. Listen well, creatures of the forest. My dearest friend, Rimuru Ashra Tempest, stands beside me. As I am your storm, he shall be your twilight flame. Our will is law." Rimuru chuckled. "Bit dramatic, but it works." Veldora puffed his chest. "You must speak with grandeur, Rimuru. That's how gods declare things." "Then why wait?" Rimuru said, his tone sharpening, excitement swelling. "Let's head out and start the game." Veldora's eyes gleamed. "Yes. Let us go forth, tempest, and let the world itself prepare for our rise." And so, they stepped forward, the storm and the shadow, the dragon once sealed and the slime reborn in human guise. Yet unknown to them, somewhere across the ripples of fate, a presence stirred, drawn to the resonance of a name once spoken, now reawakened. But here and now, in the present, they strode forward. Veldora Tempest, the storm dragon of Jura, and Rimuru Ashra Tempest, once Ashura, the unnecessary existence. Now, reborn, a presence necessary for the world itself. == To be continued ==